All right, everyone. In the wake of especially the California primary, where John Cox managed to actually actually prevail in the jungle primary that can lock out an entire political party, it's a very odd system. Basically, if you can have as many candidates as you want, the top two will end up going on to compete. Well, the top two might both be Democrats or Republicans or independents or whatever. So there's no guarantee your party is even has a seat at the table. And there was, I believe, in the last election, it was basically two Democrats running against each other in California for their governorship. Now John Cox actually has a chance to win. They might end up with a Republican governor. This article here, archived link in the description, lays it out. Basically, in California as elsewhere, things are beginning to move in the Republicans' direction favorably. Number two, it's regressing back to a pre-Trump derangement norm. That is that the kind of numbers that you saw there for a few years have relaxed back to their long-term doldrums. If that's the case, you could have a Republican governor in California. The Republicans probably prevail. They gain power in the Senate. And this is what I've said, even when the Democrats were 13 points ahead in the generic ballot, which was months ago. I said the Republicans fundamentally still have an advantage politically right now. Donald Trump is charismatic. He's a strongman character. He's good on jobs. That's going to, over time, my expectation was very slowly, yes, his approval would tick up. It was already bottomed out. That much was clear at the end of last year. His administration was embattled by obstruction and by the Mueller probe and more Russia and propaganda upon propaganda. But what I saw is this. I made my prediction based on several things. Number one, the job market would continue to improve. The economy would continue to grow. Economically speaking, my expectation was always Trump is going to be a money president. That's going to be his biggest forte. Number two, on foreign policy, I saw a different Trump than the lamestream saw. They saw an unhinged Trump that would maybe start a major war. I saw a Trump that ultimately is fooling people with that bravado sort of charisma of his, and would actually be almost a peacenik in many ways. Therefore, there wouldn't be a major war probably on the table during the midterms. Hopefully, there's not a... I hope he wins a second term and we don't end up in any new wars. I hope he just scales back our adventurism in these other countries and everything goes back to being like pre-9/11 mode. That would be the best thing in the world. We'd save a lot of money too, by the way. All you fiscal conservatives out there, they're also war hawks. You're being hypocrites there when you're talking about the Democrats being big spenders. Yeah, you want to spend a lot. It's just you want to spend it on tanks instead of planting trees or orphans or something. You want to make more orphans instead of taking care of the ones that exist here. There's a big problem with the Republicans that they've had. Trump doesn't have that problem. But the other thing I expected, and it's beginning, Trump derangement would start to wane because it had already peaked. And it can't be kept up forever. Look, people can't continuously be compelled to think Trump is actually Adolf Hitler for years and years and years simply because of propaganda. Eventually, he normalizes everything about him anyway. It doesn't matter what he does. He's been ridden by scandals, according to his enemies, or unduly mistreated, according to his supporters. Eventually, there's a desensitization that happens. People stop responding to the propaganda. You've seen it. The legacy media has moved on beyond Trump almost and started to target other people at this point. It's like they even criticize the Clintons now. They're looking for other oxygen in the room because Trump is slowly depriving them of, he's weaning them off their heroin. He's trying to save them from their junky addiction to tabloid spew bullshit, and they're not having any of it. They're just, they're like sweating and convulsing and they need more. They need a fix. It's basically what it boils down to. The blue wave is collapsing because of a combination of good economic markers, decent foreign policy, and the slow waning of public interest in being told every fucking day, hey, Trump is evil, Trump is inept and dumb. Eventually it becomes evident that he's not. Once the centrists specifically begin to realize this, the gig is up for the Democrats. That's going to happen way before 2020. It probably happens before the midterms, deprives them just shy, they'll come in just shy of controlling the House. My expectation is they miss it by a few seats. And it'll be funny when that happens. My expectation at this point is the Republicans gain a seat or two in the Senate. The map always favored them. That's the other part. Is speaking just in terms of which races are up and where they are. The Democrats are at a disadvantage. Now McConnell has come out and drained them even further by taking the Senate's August recess away, which means less time for incumbents to campaign, which means disproportionately Democrats suffer. They won't be able to campaign as hard. They won't be able to go to as many fundraisers either. It's going to be hard for them. And Mitch McConnell is like, hey, basically, it's partisan, but if you had done your job, this wouldn't be a problem. By the way, it's almost helpful to the Democrats if they actually solve the crisis of constantly getting close to a government shutdown and having so many slots that Trump wants to fill that they haven't appointed anybody to, they haven't confirmed the appointments. If they get their job done, that's one less thing for Republicans to use as a wedge issue. Instead, they're going to come out in their next wave of campaign ads, or they should. This is what they should be putting. The Democrats obstruct and are so lazy that they had to take their recess taken away. They were lazy children. They won't do anything. We've got all this work we need to do. They're taking your taxpayer money in the form of their salaries and benefits, but they're not doing any job. They just sit on their hands all day. So why would you want to elect these people? Let's get back to work. And they'll harangue. And by the way, if the Democrats fail to take the House and the Republicans actually gain in the Senate, Trump can do whatever the fuck he wants. Yeah, he'll get his wall. He'll get his wall funding. Yeah, a month ago, nobody thought that there was any possibility that the Republicans were going to be able to repulse the blue. They're like, blue wave incoming. Democrats at least take the House, probably take the Senate by a seat or two. We will impeach the evil Donald. It's not going to happen. It's just not. Even if they take the House by a few seats, it doesn't give them any significant power. There are always a few people who are willing to break rank anyway. By the way, that means the Republicans have a little bit of difficulty if they only maintain the House by a few seats. Yeah, if they don't maintain it by at least 6 or 7 seats or so, they could have some problems with some of their policies. As for the Senate, it's almost a lost cause for the Democrats now. We're beginning to make the transition back to a more normal political situation. Things are getting more partisan. That's true. Demographically, though, it's getting better for the Republicans. For a while there was shaky. Trump has to hit 45 approval or near. He's at 43 or thereabouts right now and climbing, generally speaking. It goes up and down. One day the average might show him at 45, the next day it might be 39. But the trend, if you look at it long term, is definitely on an upwards trajectory. He should get there before Election Day for the midterms. I would expect him to be at 46 or thereabouts in the RCP average, assuming everything remains the same. You've got to remember that this relies upon the concept that the job market will continue to do well. The economy doesn't collapse. You don't have a recession or anything. No new wars. Trump does not get incapacitated. I mean, the dude could have a heart attack and die tomorrow. You have to understand that that could change the trajectory of these races. You'd end up with anti-Mike Pence ads. It would be very, very funny. That could happen. It's just that those things are likely to remain the same. That's fundamentally the principle at play with my predictions. That's about all. Peace out.